Okay, it's 6:58. We'll be starting here in just a couple minutes. Okay, so I've got us at 7 p.m. 1900 for those so inclined on 24-hour clock. This is the 12th day of September 2023, Tuesday night. This is LDR 300. Leadership, fundamental, foundational class for the University of Mount Olive. I'm Russ Jamison, the instructor. Don't see anybody logging in just yet, so I'll assume that it's just me for right now. So let me go ahead and talk about things I want to talk about. First off, I apologize for not having a couple of these for the last 2 weeks. I've been a little indisposed or otherwise had some sort of exigency come up. I was out of town last week, or technically just got back in town after a trip. So I was really kind of unable to get on this. I had to take care of some things. Anyway, be that as it may, we are in week 4 and everybody is doing well. I think I'm very impressed with your insights, your vignettes, which you're offering. I appreciate everybody who is providing some, in some cases, very personal insights into you and your character. This is, of course, in the process of learning how to be leaders, effective leaders. This is building more tools to put in your toolkit. But as you can see, the structure of the course is such that it relies on you to take what you've read in the text and then be able to apply it, to find some experience in your life that that will demonstrate the principle, the theory, the model, whatever that happens to be. This, of course, sometimes recognizes that there are bad experiences, times where we didn't quite get up to where we should have in our leading ability, or specific weaknesses that we may not be necessarily proud of. But as all effective leaders will do, you continue to grow. That means you don't just rest on your strengths, but you continue to improve or refine your strengths while you also move those weaknesses into strengths. All right, so we've got one student joining us. I think I see Erica joining us. We've just started, haven't really done much outside of an initial hello. And I was starting to talk about how much I appreciate everybody's efforts and insights into their characters. You as students open up a little bit to the instructor and rely on my discretion, and I appreciate that. I don't think I've violated any trust, and I promise not to sell any of this information on eBay. That was a joke. Okay, so my screen, you should see the screen. And I'll ask Erica, let's test your audio, see if you can answer. Can you see the screen okay? Got you on mute, so I'm going to see if you can try it again. All right, well, while you're working on that, oh, there you go.
Yes, I can see the screen, but I'm driving.
Oh, well then.
Am I the only one on the call?
You sure are. So let's let you focus on driving and you just listen for a while and be safe, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so with that, the screen that I've got up is again our course. And what I'm going to do is scroll down here. I had a question earlier in the week on one of the assignments in week 4. So let's pull up week 4 here, which I've got now. Again, I ask that you read the assignment instructions for the week in the announcement section before you start anything. This is my fault this week. I apologize. I thought I had the week 4 assignment instructions out. Thought I'd posted them last week and was reviewing them yesterday or today. It was probably today to find out that I had. So those are up. I've posted those. But the information in the assignment instructions is the same as what you'll get as you go into Moodle. We've got the to-do list done here, and then we've got discussion forum. Discussion forum this week, 2 questions. Chapter 7, you read about the importance of mission in an organization. And so what I want you to do is take a mission statement of the organization you currently work for. This could also be the church you attend, or I ask that you go find the mission statement for the University of Mount Olive. And then I want you to answer whether or not you think most employees are members of your organization know this organization's mission statement. So if you work for an organization and you have that mission statement, how many of your coworkers do you think know it? If you're using the University of Mount Olive, how many do you think student-wise have actually read it? Anyway, and then I want you to provide 2 ways that leaders in that organization can more effectively communicate the mission to people both inside and outside the organization. Okay, so remember, mission statement is very critical. This is your enduring principle of what your organization is, and it is meant to be long-term. You've read about it in chapter 7. You read the elements of it. You read examples in exhibit 7.3 of the brevity that can go into a mission statement. Remember, and for those of you in the military, you know that a mission statement contains a who, a what, a where, a when, and a why, but not the how. Okay, so things that go into mission statement are there in chapter 7. So take a look at that. And then when you go to this piece of the question where it says 2 ways that leaders and organization can more effectively communicate, recall that it's important for not only the employees to know the mission statement, those that are helping you execute that mission, but also your customers and or those that partake of your services. So, 2 ways. One could be oriented towards employees, one could be oriented towards customers, but I'll let you figure that out. But what I want you to do is give me 2 ways you can effectively communicate the mission. Okay. Then discussion number 2, question number 2, takes a look at chapter 8 and looks at the principle of engagement. Okay. In other words, how do we engage the workforce? In this particular aspect of the question, I'm asking you how empowerment provides 3 key elements for an engaged worker. Okay. And empowerment, remember, is sense of meaningfulness, sense of connection, sense of growth. Okay. But take a hard look at that. Consider chapter 8 gives you psychological factors, and chapter 8 gives you the job characteristics model. So I've kind of given you a hint there on how to answer it or where you can find that answer. All right. And again, Erica, did you have a question? Came off of mute, so I was just checking. All right. Post your response, obviously, again, Wednesdays. 2359, respond to 2 students in minimum before Friday. Nothing's changed there. All right, the question that I got this week had to do with the leadership practice, Know Yourself summary report. Okay, I won't delve into the question itself because I think it was pretty self-explanatory. You have two. You do the leadership practice, Know Yourself exercise 7.3. You find that on page 265. Again, that gets into the mission. It wants you to take a look as a hint at exhibit 7.3 in your text. And then leadership practice, Know Yourself exercise 8.3. And you find that on page 304. Again, this gets into the issue of engagement, noting how we tend to be more engaged on jobs and tasks that appeal to us by those that we don't like, okay, which shouldn't come as a big surprise. But work through it and see what you come up with. Again, I want you to summarize your results. You don't have to give me a PDF copy of what you've done. In other words, I'm not asking you to show me your work. If you do as part of your answer, that's fine. I don't grade you down, but I want you to focus on discussing how the results of the exercise apply to the information or concepts presented in the text. In other words, link the exercise to what you learned in the text and give me an example or inform me. I see Susan has joined us. So, Susan, we're covering this week's work. You haven't missed a lot. Welcome on this session. I thought I had you there. Yeah. Okay. Susan, I'm going to ask you unmute for a second just to make sure you can talk to us if you need to.
Hi.
Very good. Good to have you. Thank you. All right. So the big thing again and I'm talking right now about the leadership practice, self-insight exercises. So you're going to relate the exercise to what you read in the text. So give me something out of the text and talk about it. Give me you in there too. Don't just regurgitate. And then some personal reflection. Okay. And that's twofold. So again, we want to know how you will use the information and concepts presented and the results of this exercise in your ability to enhance the leadership, your leadership ability, how it makes you a more effective leader, and how do you create value in your career? Remember, it doesn't make a difference if you make the best product in the world. If the customer doesn't value it, they're not going to buy it. So same thing here a little bit is we want to see how these concepts, how this information helps you create value. And then, as always, if you disagree with the results, certainly talk about it. Some of you have noted there's a challenge in answering because some of you want to know, should you answer based on the job you have now or the job or occupation you were hoping to have after you have your degree? I would say to you, pick what works best for you. It's not always clean and easy. If a particular exercise works best talking about the here and now and what you're doing, then to go for that. If it works a little better, it helps facilitate an answer on a future endeavor, then I would say go for that. I'm not trying to be mystic or non-committive, if that's a word, but this is you we're talking about. So this really comes down to how how you want to address it and get after it. Okay. And that's the value of these exercises is this is your time to do these self insights, your time to find out, in other words, what makes you tick. And then also at a larger scale, these are some things that you may want to think about using in the future for your subordinates. In other words, ask your subordinates to go through some of these things so you get a better feel for how and why they do the things that they do and help them develop their strengths and or weaknesses. Okay, and then of course those have to be in by Saturday, 23:59, 11:59 p.m. You do not have to make it APA format in the sense of a thesis, table of contents, cover sheet, things like that. But I do want you to generally adhere to the APA format. So I'm going to ask you to do it in type double space, 1.5 inch margins, 1 inch margin bottom and right, 12-point font. Okay. Um, and then if you do want to practice, for example, thesis statement, or I should say abstract, then go for it. I'm certainly not going to count you down, and I'm willing to take a look if you want, but it won't impact your grade either way. Okay, and then week number 4, as always, you have 45 minutes. Most of you are taking less than half of that. Some of you having mixed results doing it so quick, so that's up to you and what you want to do. The thing to remember, again, this caught somebody the last week, that is the quiz closes at 1500, 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon. That's going to continue for the week 4 quiz, the week 5 quiz, the week 6 quiz, and the week 7 quiz. Okay. They will all close on Sunday at 3. The doesn't matter what time you start it. If you start that quiz at 2:50 in the afternoon at 14:50, then you're going to have 10 minutes on that quiz and it's going to close on you. So even if you're in it and working it, it's going to close. Okay. So don't get caught short. And then understand that the last week, because the session ends or this session ends on a Wednesday, we're going to kind of reverse the process. In other words, that week 7 quiz will be due at 1500 on Sunday, and at noon on that same day, the 0.4 week, okay, what would be the 7.4 week of the session, that quiz will open and it will close on Wednesday. Okay, so make sure you're checking the schedule. Make sure you look at the syllabus and the Moodle information. So don't get caught short. Okay, that moves us into again another issue revolving around this last week of this course, and that is normally courses ask for your final paper the last day of the course. That's not going to happen here. Okay, your final paper, if you look, is due at the end of week 7. So as I scroll down here, there's on the screen, you'll see leadership effectiveness paper. That paper, you'll see presentation in there, visual aid presentation. Disregard that. That's predominantly for those courses when I'm teaching that are seated. And those classes have to do a presentation as part of their paper. You do not. You just turn in your paper. But it is due on Sunday, the 8th of October. Okay. So just be aware that you have paper due on Sunday, the 8th, and then the rest of the 0.4 week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you have some assignments, predominantly just the discussion forum and the quiz. Okay. So again, that's a couple weeks off, so you don't have to worry about it right now. But I highlight that so we're all on the same page and we don't have any what I call quote unquote shoots, and we have to unhinge. Now, remember also that your instructors now are only given a couple days to get your final grades in. Okay, so I have to have your final grades posted by Friday. So that's in part why we had the final paper due that previous Sunday. So that gives me a little time to actually read and grade them the way that I should instead of being rushed. And I try to have those graded and available for your review at least a day before I have to post your final grade in case we have a problem that crops up. You know, you uploaded the wrong file is what I normally get. In some cases, we have to discuss why the assignment wasn't adhered to. Okay, and the information's all there. If you, I will send out probably next week a grading rubric that I will use for your paper. But what I will grade on your paper is already in Moodle and will be in those assignment instructions. Each week's assignment instruction has that information on the final paper. It's in the section said titled "Not Due This Week." Okay, so there should be no surprises. All right. Let me take a quick breath of air here. If Susan or Erica want to weigh in on something, this is your chance. If not, we'll do a general wrap up and end this probably at 7:30. Okay, so yes, Susan.
I just realized that I have my margins set on the papers backwards. I was trying to figure out why my side margins were so much, but yeah, I put the 1.5 on the right and the left. I just realized that when you were reading that. Now
Yeah,
I feel stupid.
I wasn't going to call you out on it, and I'm not marking down on the homework as much. And again, I'm not an English major. This isn't a English class, so I'm not as picky on some of this as perhaps I should. But I will on the final paper because I have to.
Well, I'm
So,
glad I saw that, dude.
all right, you're doing great. Um, and believe me, there's others that are using a format that's way beyond just that. So don't don't take it too hard. The but the key is that you know the university wants you following APA, and you will have other courses that grade it much tougher than me. And that's not because I'm an easy mark or I'm slacking off. It's just I am I'm of the more persuasion. I want to see what you have to say than worry too much about counting too much down for format. The but again, part of this too is, and the reason why there are some suspense times on your homeworks is basically to teach compliance. It's part of being an effective leader, of knowing when things are due to the boss, and then meeting those timelines. And so, this is kind of your time to have the shoot. Imagine going in your boss and not having something into him that's or her that's critical, and saying, "Oh, I didn't realize, or I had it mixed up with another job or course I'm taking," or my dog ate it, or whatever the other the reasons are. It's just not to make light of troubles that pop up, and certainly we all understand exigencies occur. Um, we uh, we don't know when things are going to happen, and that's true for your instructor as well. But the key on it is we try to we need to own it, what happens, and then make sure that we're attentive. And I know everybody's busy. Everybody's got full-time jobs, certainly family, and you're engaged in the community. You wouldn't be aspiring leaders if you were not. And you're trying to take a full course load. So believe me, I understand. Um, I've been where you're heading in many cases, but I also will tell you that if it was easy, everyone would do it. So you've bit off a lot to chew, but you're goal oriented and you're after something. And I just ask that everybody keep your eye on the goal and slug it out, because again, it gets demoralizing sometimes, and it can be a load, but the uh, the end result is worth it, I assure you. And you'll be so proud when you walk across that stage and get whatever it is they hand. I don't know if University of Mount Olive actually hands you a diploma at graduation or not. Most schools do not. They wind up mailing it to you, but you get a piece of something when you go across the stage. Uh, but again, it's also important just to have that intrinsic reward. Remember, intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. Extrinsic is what we get from others. Intrinsic is what we give ourselves. The satisfaction of accomplishment, the knowledge that we took on something and achieved it, and the like. So, okay, well, enough of that. I'm getting close to 7:30. Normally, there will be a pop up here that says we've got about 10 minutes left, and then I usually get cut off while I'm in mid sentence. I don't want to do that tonight. I think I'll probably wind this up probably about 7:30, unless anybody has a question or a concern that you want to bring up right now.
No.
Well, good. Then I'm gonna cruise along in my ignorance that everything is good. Ignorance is bliss, and I'm a blissful man. I appreciate Erica and Susan, you're joining. And again, I encourage you on your efforts. You both are doing a superb job. It's a real pleasure having you in class. You you know what you know the material, you know what you're doing. So I would encourage you just to keep at it. And for those that didn't join but are watching this later, same thing holds true. The course as a whole has been a very compelling one for me. I have almost 30 of you, so it's a wide variety of experiences and lifestyles out there, and interesting insights. But as is the case in everybody, everybody's after being a more effective leader and understanding what that entails. And so that's been tremendous. Let's see. I'm just going over yeah. So let me take a look at his announcements real quick. Yeah, I did post that today. So bad memory on my part. Like I said, week 4 assignment instructions I did finally post today. Again, I regret the inconvenience on that, folks. That was my fault. I got a little ahead of myself last week. I hope you're finding the text a good one. I think it is. I certainly recommend everyone hold on to it. You'll never know when you need to use it again. You certainly will use it again in future classes at University of Mount Olive. If you have me for some of the future ones, like I think next session, what am I doing? I'm doing LDR 440, which is leading change, and I'm doing LDR 490, which is your leadership capstone. Um, Believe me, you're going to use this text in those courses. LDR 490 Leadership Capstone does not have a textbook. You are not going to learn principles, theories, traits of leadership in that class, but you do have readings. You'll have two books, a nonprofit author and a for-profit author, two organizations, the Salvation Army and Marriott. And you're going to read what these authors have to say about those organizations as they go through, in a sense, an autobiography. But you'll pull leadership principles, traits, and models that they have used out of their readings. You'll see what things have gone well for them and what haven't, and be able to apply what you learned in a almost a case study format, applied to why you think a particular thing did not work for them. And it's more of a Socratic method. In other words, you do most of the teaching in that class amongst yourselves. And an online that doesn't work as much as it does seated, but it's more of a you demonstrating what you've pulled out of your leadership experience, not to coin a phrase, but out of your time matriculating through university, not all. And don't worry, the instructor's still there. We still have a setup, but I think you would find that a lot of fun because it's more of an engaging, freewheeling type of course. And oh, by the way, there are no quizzes in that, and there's little homework. But LDR 490, the final paper is worth half of your grade. So it really means a lot to know what that final paper entails and what you have to do to get to that point. But again, not to scare anybody away, it's a lot funner than it sounds. And there's a mechanism I have in place that helps out. So remember, my job is to help get you through it. You have to do the work, but I'm here to help. So I hope that's what everybody realizes. Okay. All right. Well, look, I'm gonna.
Those courses sound fun.
I'm sorry, Eric. I walked all over you. You said what?
No, you're fine. I said those courses sound fun.
They really are. The leading change is remarkable because, well, just from my own personal perspective as a former Marine, I've watched the Marine Corps go through a lot of changes. There's my pop-up. We got 10 minutes. 10 minutes until Zoom or Zoom shuts us off. But as a former Marine, I've watched some major changes that the Marine Corps has put in place and have been mystified, if you will, if not outright horrified on how those were put in place, because it's, in many cases, it's violated just about every principle you're going to learn in leading change. The key of leading change is understanding the level of change and how you want to, quote unquote, make it stick. In other words, how effective the change is. And so it's a very pragmatic course. It's a very compelling course. It's, believe me, it's an eye opener. And then, the LDR 490, the capstone, is really designed for you to be able to bring it all together and again, kind of use it's really kind of a case study format, but it's a little bit more because in a case study format, the case is presented to try to drive you to some particular principle or theories or models that that they want to highlight. In this case, it's literally just reading about somebody else's experiences in life and seeing what pops out at you. And believe me, a lot more will pop than you think. It's and we're not, we're not reveling in other people's misery. We're not getting into salacious details of failure. you know, these two organizations, the reason Marriott and Salvation Army were picked is because both have been in existence for over 100 years. So, you know, they've both got to be doing something right. And so that's, you know, it's not to say that they've had unqualified success in everything that they've accomplished. In fact, there's been some major bumps in the road of their organizations, and they keep their organizations thriving. And that's unusual because as people do, organizations go through a cycle of life unless some change has been made. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get ourselves through this first, right? All right, ladies. Well, if you don't have anything for me, I'm going to sign this off. Is that okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Like I said, keep it up. Keep charging.
Thank you.
And have a good week.